We're starting our hike today at mile marker 0 at the Stilling Basin. We've just entered the trail. We're going to look back at where we came from. There's the parking lot where we parked, and there's the Stilling Basin, and we're on the trail. Going to hike up this hill. You'll notice that we're wearing fluorescent orange today. We think it's a good idea when we're out on the trails because there are many areas around the lake where hunting occurs every day except Sunday. Today, I believe, January 16th, 2021, I believe that small game hunting is open. And I might even be a kind of deer season, which is called muzzleloader. And so we want to make sure the hunters have a chance to see us. And we'll also see up here, we're about to cross over kind of a break that the rangers have put on the trail where they laid bags of concrete, and as the moisture gets into the bags, the concrete hardens and it serves as a way to prevent erosion. All right, we're still hiking from the Stilling Basin at mile marker 0. We're going to be heading over to the State Hill boat launch, mile marker 2.5 today. And as you can see, coming up on some other hikers that have their dogs out for some exercise. Okay, now we've reached the top of the hill at the Stilling Basin. And in the distance, we can see the overlook, kind of the visitor center. What we're looking down is a road that travels across the dam breast. And as you can see, it's a restricted area. The other thing we can see from here is a road that heads down to a boat launch where the rangers keep their boats docked in the summertime. So they drive across the dam breast road and they go down this road and go to their boat launch. Here's an example of one of the trail signs. It's just a directional sign. As we talk about all the time, the trails are very well maintained for the most part. But some of the signage has suffered over the years, and it can be deceptive sometimes, not knowing which way to go. So it's best to carry a trail map, especially if you're just becoming familiar with these trails. We're continuing down what used to be an old road. I don't see many traces of asphalt on this particular road. But when we get down a little bit further, we will meet up with a road that was once asphalt, and the asphalt is still there in a very decayed form. Here's an example of one of the trail signs. It's just a directional sign. As we talk about all the time, the trails are very well maintained for the most part. But some of the signage has suffered over the years, and it can be deceptive sometimes, not knowing which way to go. So it's best to carry a trail map, especially if you're just becoming familiar with these trails. We're continuing down what used to be an old road. I don't see many traces of asphalt on this particular road. But when we get down a little bit further, we will meet up with a road that was once asphalt, and the asphalt is still there in a very decayed form. Okay, we're getting a good view of the lake here now, especially this time of year in the fall and the winter. You get a good view of the lake from the shoreline. Sometimes in the summertime, when the foliage is in full bloom, you don't get quite as good a view. I'm going to walk down to the lakefront here, just give you an idea of what the lake looks like. And as you can see, these look like stones, but in a lot of cases they're not stones. They're old pieces of concrete from structures that used to exist here. Just like this one, this pile right here kind of looks like it used to be an old structure. If we look up that way, way off in the distance, we can see the beach area. Now we're on the shoreline. We're going to go back up on the trail again, because later on this hike we're going to be coming down and walking along the shoreline since the water is lowered in the lake. This is another good example of the roads that shoot off to the side, or the trails that shoot off to the side from the main trail, and we'll be documenting those in future segments as well. The multi-use trail that we're on right now encircles the lake. It's about 27 miles, but with all of the other trails can add up to about 36 miles total. Here's a real good view of the lake. We're about 0.56 miles from the Stilling Basin where we started, and we get this beautiful, beautiful view of the lake. In the summertime, lots of people down at the lakefront here. Coming up on us, you'll see some more hikers walking their dogs. And here's a view way off in the distance. You can see some guys fishing in a small bass boat or a small fishing boat. And what you're looking at right here is a mystery to us. We haven't quite figured out why this cut was made with the sharp embankments, and somewhere down the line we're going to talk to the rangers about that, get some history, and find out why this cut was made off of the trail. Interestingly enough, all the way across the lake you can see the State Hill boat launch, and you probably can't see it very well on the video here, but the lake down in front of us is actually frozen. There was a seagull sitting on that frozen part as we walked up here, but he flew away. Anyway, that's the State Hill boat launch. That's at mile marker 2.5. And we're not going to be going quite that far today. We're going to document that. We're going to mile marker 2 today. Another example of the trails that lead up into the fields. If you want to just kind of play around and take side trips, there's lots of fields to explore. Good fields for fox hunting at night as well, and good fields for pheasant hunting. I mentioned earlier, this is an old farm road. You may not be able to see it, but there's tire tracks on the road here that were made not too long ago. It's prohibited to bring motorized vehicles out here, but the rangers come out here with equipment to manage the trails and to manage the fields. We're coming up on an area right now. As you can see, they kind of spread some stones on the trail here, keep it from being so muddy. There's a piece of ground cover that they put down a while back. And where we are about to intersect, we're going to intersect with a road where the asphalt remains still exist. And the road used to go down that way. We're not going to go down that way right now. We're going to do that on the way back. But here's the road that used to exist, and we'll have to get you the name of this old road. You can see we're going to be heading up the hill on our way to mile marker number 2. Point of interest, here's a telephone pole that was chopped off when the lake was being built, because this was a road and there were telephone poles and utility poles back here. And then here's a concrete post anchor that was probably for a guardrail or a gate that went across this road. Here's an entrance to a field. You can see that there's a 0 on the sign here. I think that they probably, if you were to ask the rangers where field 0 was, if this happens to be field 0, they could tell you exactly where it is on their map. And now we're back on the trail again. And what you're going to see is a trail leading down to the water's edge. This is a kind of a scrub cut. We sometimes call it bushwhacking, where the rangers have come through with equipment to cut a path down this way. We may or may not get down to the water's edge from here. Sometimes these paths get us close, but they don't actually go down to the water. We're going to check it out today. Again, we're somewhere between mile marker 0 and mile marker 1. We should just about be at mile marker 1 on the trail. And our goal is to get to number 2 today. At this point, we've walked all the way down from the trail on sort of a bushwhack cut or a brush cut. And quite frankly, we're trying to figure out why they cut it, why they did it this way. The animals themselves make their own trails, and you can see them all through the brush here if you look closely enough. But I'm just not sure why the rangers cut down here and bushwhacked this whole trail. We're going to find out. I'm hoping that it takes us down to the shoreline because later in our hike that would be really convenient based on the route that we want to cover. But again, it kind of looks like the bushwhack trail just kind of ends down here, and we would have to make our way through some pretty heavy-duty brush to get to the shoreline. And we could get through there relatively easily, but it's certainly not a path. Okay, so that's the side trail that we walked down, and in later video segments we're going to cover many of the side trails. But now we're back to the main trail system again, and basically we're looking for mile marker 1, which should be around here somewhere. Unfortunately, the signs have fallen down over the years, and some of them have just never been replaced. So we'll look around and see if we can find it. We're still headed down the trail. We are between mile marker 0 and probably right around mile marker 1 right now, coming up on a group of hikers with some dogs. So you can see the trails are occupied even on a cloudy day like today. So let's get a shot of the dogs and the people there. Really looks like a basset hound and a chocolate lab.
Hi.
Hi, it's okay, we're friendly. Hi. That's our favorite breed right there.
Hi guys. Oh, and you too, you bastard.
Looks like he was in the water, huh?
He was splashing around.
Have a good walk. Thanks. Now, I don't believe this is the 1 mile marker sign, but it is a trail sign, and it shows that it's open to hikers and horses, and probably to bicyclists also. So we're going to continue on. We're somewhere around mile marker 1 now. All right, we're still between mile marker 1 and 2, and you can see through the trees there are houses right up here on top of the hill. So while you feel like you're out in the wilderness, if there was ever an emergency, it wouldn't take long to walk up through the woods here and get help. We're still not quite at mile marker 2 yet. We're on what used to be an old farm road. I'm going to turn around, and what you'll be able to see is a road that leads back, and there's a pumping station that connects to the Sunoco pipeline. This road makes it accessible, and this is also an old farm road that was here before the lake was built. We're going to be coming up on an intersection with a road, an old road that's now closed, but it was the extension of State Hill Road that traveled down into a section called Pleasant Valley. Pleasant Valley is right about where the State Hill boat launch is located today. So now we've come to the intersection of the old State Hill Road. Looking up the hill, there's a gate, but if we walked up that hill and walked beyond the gate, we would be at the intersection of State Hill Road and Brownsville Road, which is where Ganley's Pub is located. Great food, by the way. And where the Lower Heidelberg Township Fire Department is located. We're going to continue down this road, what used to be State Hill Road, to mile marker 2. All right, I happen to know that we're coming up on mile marker number 2, and you'll notice that The rangers have brought some concrete blocks down here. We're not really sure what they're doing with it. We're going to ask them the next time we see them. Last week we were out on this trail and they had brought one pallet down. Now they've brought a second pallet down of concrete blocks. And again, I'm just not sure what they're going to do with that. But anyway, this road would be State Hill Road that would continue down to the lake, but the trail system is cut off to the left. And I'm going to try to get a shot of this. If you look down, many times when you're hiking on the trail system here, you'll see what just looks like stones. But if you see my foot there, you'll see that I'm actually on what looks like some sort of a wall, a stone wall that had been built. If we walk up here a little further, the first thing we'll see is mile marker 2. So we've now traveled 2 miles from the Stilling Basin on the trail system, and we're going to do another video segment next.